Somewhere down the line, a musician in me became a saint. A musician in me became someone who starts now meditating through music.
The Teamwork Arts Podcast, ladies and gentlemen, this is where we try and go behind the thoughts that animate the actions of those who create the art. A long time back, there was a movie called Jhankar Beats. I was listening and there's this song, Tu Aashiqi Hai, and then suddenly in the chorus, there's gospel. And you're like, mainstream Bollywood movie, Shujoy Ghosh, and there's gospel. And I just had to find out who the music was by. There was a name, Vishal Dadlani. Underneath, there was a name, Sheykhar Ravjiani. And this was, I think, the first time that you'd actually gotten out a mainstream movie. You'd been working together for a while, but Sheykhar was someone who was new to my music atmosphere. And soon he was to take over because there were reality shows, there were songs where there were unexpected beauty. There was unexpected beauty that came in, and I could go on and on till the evening. But thank you very much, Sheykhar, for your time.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
I still remember, and I love introducing you with that one thing, that one of the greatest musicians that we've had in our country, as probably in the world as far as classical music is concerned, Pandit Jasraj, the Rasraj himself. वो आए थे आपकी रियलिटी शो में
जी.
और आपने जो है बहुत मतलब बाकी सब तो ओ तू यहाँ जाएगा तू वहां जाएगा, लेकिन शेखर रवजियानी ने एक कमेंट दिया था. उन्होंने बोला था कि आप बहुत अच्छा गाते हैं लेकिन आप खरज का रियाज कीजिए
जी.
और शायद वहां बहुत सारे लोगों को समझ नहीं आया था वो, लेकिन एक शख्स को जो समझ में आया उनका नाम था पंडित जसराज.
जी, जी, जी.
और उन्होंने छोड़ दिया कॉन्टेस्टेंट को. उन्होंने बोला कि वाह खरज का रियाज आपकी जय हो.
जी, जी.
तो यू हैव ट्रीटेड म्यूजिक as sadhana for a while, haven't you?
Yeah.
When did this journey start?
So the thing is, in the beginning, सब लोग कर रहे थे तो मैंने शुरुआत की. कोई दोस्त ने आके कहा कि why don't you kind of do ads?
अच्छा.
Do jingles.
Right.
It's fun. You do really great production and you really kind of... So I used to record everything on my keyboard. My dad bought me an Ensoniq TS10.
Oh, okay.
So that was a very expensive keyboard back then. When he purchased that for me, I had taken the outs of that keyboard into a tape recorder. So I used to put all my compositions on a tape.
Wow. Okay.
So that tape was given to a friend of mine who gave it to Mr. Mukul Anand.
Achha.
And I'm talking about the year 1995-96.
Right.
So 95, I think Mukul sir actually heard my tape and he said, I want to meet this boy right now.
Okay.
So that my advertising journey started with that thing. And then organically things started going into a place where album release हो गई, उसके बाद विशाल से मुलाकात हुई, उसके बाद प्यार में कभी कभी happened as individual composers. Like I was working on it separately, Vishal was working on it separately. Yes. And then we decided to work together and Jhankar Beats happened. So both of it was ours. Till today, we are known as the creators of Jhankar Beats and people love the music even now. Somewhere down the line, a musician in me became a saint. A musician in me became someone who starts now meditating through music. Niyaz Ahmed Khan Sahab, who I learned from, put me into this habit of disconnecting with the world and touching another world altogether through riyaz, through practice. But it was difficult for me to kind of, be on this, into the film music where you are actually being briefed upon something and then you're making music for that brief.
Right.
You're going to different verticals, you're going to different styles, different genres of music. A dance song, a gospel song, Tu Aashiqi Hai, a ballad, Suno Na, everything. There's loads and loads of kind of situations.
And power chords in ballads.
Power chords in ballads, which again, it's a choice. You like rock music, so you want to put that thing in, right? And then at the same time, waking up in the morning and doing Kharaj Ka Riyaz. And that Jagjit uncle was the person who told me that Kharaj Ka Riyaz to karna hi hai tumhe.
Basically what it means
is low notes early in the morning when you wake up. earlier the better. Do your low notes ka riyaz.
Yeah.
And that'll make your voice fatter, thicker, nicer, warmer. That is what was, told. But the thing is, people from our generation, हम लोग थोड़ा lightly लेते हैं ये सब चीजें. लेकिन जब करता था, when I did a tribute to Shri Jagjit Singh ji, called Hazaro Khwaishein Aisi, which was, done by teamwork. And, all over the world, we kind of performed 6 concerts, right?
For sure.
At that point, I understood what he really meant by doing Kharaj Ka Riyaz. And that really helped me to sing his songs at the concert.
I also think that nuance is what Kharaj Ka Riyaz also literally stands for, because the rousing high notes, the crescendos.
No, staying on the note, on the low notes early in the morning, and then you kind of lose that lows. In the, like if it's 7 in the morning, you have a really bass note, and then when you start talking a little, then the lows kind of go away from your voice.
Yeah.
And by about 9:30, 10, you're back to this kind of voice which I'm saying right now. But when you wake up in the morning, you have a voice like that.
It's a little low. Yeah,
so this is the voice you need to do.
For
like
sure.
Most amount of practice, and so it becomes like fatter. Like voice becomes
like life itself.
Nice and you need to prop up that thing and make it into a meditational process.
The one thing that has always fascinated me is that effectively there was also a lot of failure in your life. You were part of a reality TV show that didn't really go too well, but you didn't.
No, the failure started much earlier. Failure started with a college competition where I went and sang "Kabhi Kabhi Mere Dil Mein Khayal Aata Hai."
Acha.
And there were 3 professors and there were three or 4 students, friends who came to support me out there. And I could not sing because my feet were trembling.
Okay.
My feet still tremble, by the way. And I like it. First it was nervousness, now I like it. It's like, it reminds me of my failures so that I can perform well.
Sure.
It reminds me of the falls so that I can rise now.
And that's important. No?
And what I also feel is that whether it was failure out there, whether it was my album which I took to a record label and the record label said कि भैया तुम गाना वाना मत करो, तुम अपने पिताजी के धंधे पे बैठ जाओ, तुम गाना वाना मत करो, don't sing, don't make music because you don't have it in you.
Oh, you were told that.
So I remember that moment. I remember moments where a friend of mine went to audition for Saregama. Saregamapa it used to be. So when I went
used to host.
And a friend of mine was a very, very good singer. And he was going to a small little school in Dadar where the auditions were happening. So he said, come along with me. And when his audition was happening, so he looked at me saying, why don't you kind of try?
Acha.
So I went and I sang a song. And by mistake, I think all the notes were in place or whatever.
Okay.
Pata nahi kya ho gaya tha. And I got chosen for that thing.
Acha.
I got chosen and I competed against other singers.
Right.
And I sang 3 songs because there used to be 3 rounds. Right. So I did 3 rounds of that and I performed really well, but I lost by 5 points.
5 points, is it?
Yeah, I lost by 5 points. So मैंने वो दिन decide कर लिया था while I was leaving the venue that now if I come back on the show, I'll come back as a judge.
क्या बात है?
I will not come back as a contestant.
And you did?
So all these things put together, the fire came from all these things.
Right.
The fire is still there.
Talking of fire, you've chosen a very fiery teammate for your musical collaboration. Vishal Dadlani can probably not be called a very subtle man. How is that? I mean, it's very much like fire and water because, as you said, you're the low note as far as holding up the nuance is concerned. He's the, I've been a big term Pentagram fan.
Right.
I've had multiple interactions with him.
I love Pentagram. Fantastic.
Absolutely. And I do know that you've also told him to change the name of It's Okay, It's All Good to It's All Right, It's Okay or something like that. How is it? I mean, those energies would be fascinating in the studio. No? How does that work?
So I know Vishal before we kind of started working together.
Right.
And I think जोड़ियां जो होती है ना वो ऊपर वाला बनाता है. When there is some kind of energy where you throw something and someone else throws something back at you, and the collaboration becomes beautiful, is something which I've shared with Vishal in the last 25 years.
Right.
It's individually both of us make songs, individually both of us write songs, individually both of us have a lot of fun making music.
Sure.
Our own style,
Yeah.
maybe a genre for someone else. But both of us have a synergy where when we come together in a room, there's something really special which gets made.
Sure.
Today we're almost 25 years together and the entire thing. And it just feels good that more than music, we are hanging out buddies basically. We're just kind of
Sure.
sitting in a coffee shop, just throwing ideas at each other, or going for a drive somewhere. Or right now we were in New York for about 15-20 days. So we were just baate karte, something happens, some idea happens, some this thing happens. So we're working on a musical at the moment. So a Broadway musical. So that is something new for us.
Sure.
And then, but the good thing is that along last 20-25 years, I have learned a lot from Vishal. I have learned a lot of, and I'm a student, I keep on learning from everyone. Like AR comes up with some music, I love what he does. It's just a lesson for me. Dr. L. Subramaniam, Kavita ji, Amjad Ali Khan Sahab, Niyaz Ahmed Khan Sahab, Jagjit ji, Panchamda, Beatles, Elvis. We're constantly learning. A lot of new music, Vishal Bharadwaj, Ismail Darbar. I love Ismail Bhai's work. Over the years, there's so much to absorb, beautiful colors from all over the place.
Sure.
That you're only growing and evolving in music.
And yet you haven't sung nearly as much as we would like you to sing. You've kept your singing away from your music making. Is that a conscious?
It's not been conscious, but sometimes a composition just wants your voice. Sometimes a composition wants you as a singer. Sometimes I've sung something which is as a rough take for a composition we worked on. And then, for example, Bin Tere. So when I sang the reprise of Bin Tere, it just sounded so good that everyone in the room was like, we're not changing this voice, we're just keeping it. We want this voice. And Meherba Hua, Ishq Wala Love, while making the song, is like, no, you have to sing this song. Zeh Naseeb,
sure.
You have to sing this song. It became like that.
And yet you chose KK for Khuda Jaane, which would have probably suited your voice so beautifully.
No, I don't think I could have sung it as well as KK. No.
I mean...
So no, the thing is, because the thing is that I love KK's voice.
Oh, man. Absolutely.
वो इंसान के पास ऐसा दिल है कि वो दिल composition में आ जाता है, वो लोगों के दिलों तक पहुंच जाता है. I think there's some connection which is so strong with the happiness and the energy KK comes with.
Sure.
And with the composition, it just elevates the whole process.
और यार वो composition ही ऐसी थी ना, मतलब वो जो aha moment था ना, जब वो तबले की तिहाई आती है break के बाद, तो it's that it would be, and the thing is that there's just such what would probably be called contrasting personalities play. Khuda Jaane mein there's also fabulous power chord, pentagrammic power chord there, but there's also very Sufiana Thehrao in that whole composition. The fire and water aspect that we said. What is the process of creating a song? For example, for lack of a better example, like a Khuda Jaane, how do you do that? How do you approach that?
So fire and water is a thing which comes from the outside.
I'm sure.
But then it's fire and fire in the room, and then it's water and water in the room.
Sure. Right.
So when it's fire and fire in the room, something really unique comes out. Water and water in the room, something. Thehrao comes in.
Right.
Power chords come in.
Right.
Drive comes in. I think it's the energy which is there in the studio when you're kind of sitting on with something, when you're sitting with a tune, when you're kind of feeling it, when everyone feels it. Not just us, but the lyricist, the director, sometimes the assistant directors who are there. There's a lot of energy which kind of makes a song happen. Secondly, a lot of musicians make a song happen. A lot of musicians who come on the songs kind of bring their own bit to the song. A lot of credit goes to the musicians who play on the song. A lot of credit goes to all the chorus singers who are singing on the song.
Sure.
I think an energy doesn't come from just two people or one person. Energy comes from every single person associated with a 3 or 4 minute piece which you're listening, which could be a song, which could be just a piece.
And that's the beauty of your music as well, no, Shekhar? You understand the energy of the people.
Yeah.
You've till now resisted very strongly the temptation of recreating that energy through keys or through technology. You've used human emotion for most of your music, haven't you?
And that's the only thing I know.
I think that's why we were told when we were beginning to sort of appreciate music in a sense that music has something indefinable called a hook. वो आ गया तो आ गया, अगर नहीं आया तो नहीं आया. तो वो hook जो है, I think, is because of the heart connecting with someone else's heart that's beating together.
It's a thought. It's a thought which they call it as a hook, which is a summation of every single thought of the song put together comes in the form of a hook which people can sing along with.
Yes.
That's something along the lines of पहले तो ऐसा कुछ था नहीं, चार लाइन के गाने हुआ करते थे. उसमें ऐसा नहीं है कि कोई repetition थी या कोई. It used to be a 4-line song, 2-line song. There have been 2 lines in the song, and there are songs where the mukhda itself is 16 lines.
Absolutely.
So the thing is, there are no rules. If it sounds good, it sounds good.
For sure. There's also a question that I've wanted to ask you for a long time, which is the way you deal with remixes, which are more like tributes for you, because we've had tons of press about how remixes are spoiling the music scene. Right from Jhankar Beats, which was actually just such a fan's tribute to Pancham Da. It was boss kaun hai malum hai kya, ghar ke samne jaake gaaya. To Bachna Hai Hasino Lo mein aa gaya. I'm told that you use some of the musicians who had actually initially worked with
the horns especially.
The horns. I mean, I think it was Manohari Singh, wasn't he? Oh, he had passed by that time, I think.
There was Kishore Soda. There was
Kishore Soda. Yeah,
there are a lot of horn sections we use in that song. We actually used the sample of Kishore Das' voice in Bachna Hai Hasino.
Yeah.
The groove element, we kind of filtered the groove to a level where we could add our own layer of the groove on it. But the mukhda was completely the horn line of the original song, which went into Bachna Hai Hasino. The antra was, so the thing is, जो प्योर चीजें हैं उनको हाथ नहीं लगाना चाहिए. और जब आप हाथ लगाते हो तो just bow down and fold your hands and do justice to it. The thing is to kind of give it respect. When you disrespect an already existing composition because you've been told to kind of do that, you have to very delicately touch that tune and the production of that tune.
And that's the thing. You know that there are those delicious echoes of the original composition all through, and
you can never better that.
Absolutely. And you shouldn't. I mean,
you shouldn't even touch it.
And beauty was.
Yeah, we've really now refused. Last couple of years, we're not touching. So lately we were told to remix our own song, which was like, okay,
are you serious?
Bas ho gaya. That's it. Das Bahane came back again.
Oh, did it?
And the record label kind of remixed the song and put it back again, and it did really well again. So okay, cool.
But that's the temptation, no? With music, it's a comfort zone. People think, "Ha, wohi 200 gaane sunte raho." That line where you cross over to trying to discover new music and trying to stay back because you want to sing along and feel a little comfortable about it. The comfort zone of music is a little bit of a dangerous place, isn't it, Shekhar?
For me, there is see, as a creator, what happens is give me something original to compose and I'll be very happy. But don't make me touch upon something which has already been created, whether it belongs to you or belongs to someone else.
And in that way, the pandemic has really...
Pandemic was the best too, and I'm sorry to say it sounds very insensitive, but a lot of people went through shit. A lot of people went through a lot of trouble. A lot of people lost a lot of people. But these 2.5 years was the best for me because I found my calling. I found my path. I got clarity on what I want to do, what my next steps should be. I started falling in love with music again. Somewhere I took music for granted, I think, in the middle. But then, these 2.5 years got me very, very close to and fall in love with music.
which shows in the music that the output that's there. Rang, of course, is fabulous. The work that you've done with the Shillong Chamber Choir is, I mean,
those guys are wonderful. Those guys have some beautiful music.
Such a visual composition. You literally see the notes, dancing in front of you. There's also, it's fabulous that some people, as you said, take music for granted, lose their way a little. They might be fabulous musicians, but the demands of the industry, so to speak, you can see the difference in the output. Your output seems to have kept the integrity of the music alive, both in your, lack of a better way of explaining it, commercial work, if you'll pardon the expression, and your creative output for yourself. Is that a difficult tightrope to walk sometimes?
The thing is, when music stresses you out, then there is no music. Then you're not doing music, you're doing something else. As a composer, as a creator, to smile each day, every morning, because you're blessed with music, is very, very important. And the thing is, last 2.5 years, 3 years, I realized that let me make something for nothing. When you make something for nothing, there are no briefs, there are no boundaries, there are no limitations. You are flowing, you are sketching. There's an open canvas in front of you, and then you're just like sketching. I decided last 2.5 years, when the lockdown was announced, is that every day I'm going to start at 10 in the morning until 6 evening, sit, make a melody, call my lyricist friends, get the lyrics done on a song, and then in the evening at 5:36 when I go for a walk, I'm going to hear my song in my headphones.
Right.
Every day I've done that for the last 2.5 years. Whether it's good or it's bad, or whether it's ordinary, whether it's commercial, whether it's not commercial, whether it's too indie, whether it's... all these things were totally, completely sidelined, and I was just romancing with music.
But Shekhar, you've worked really, really hard to give yourself that luxury. It's been a long and arduous route. There have been instances where you've refused on moral grounds to do music as well. You've fought with people for the integrity of your music. Has there ever been, as you said, if music makes you smile, that's important. Has there ever been a time in your journey up in that way when you've actually had to frown, to compromise because you needed to move that one step further?
You know what happens is, as I told you, that it's an inclusive process. Music making for a film is, everyone has to be on the same energy level. Sometimes a lot of people don't have clarity on what they want. Sometimes you don't have much clarity about the brief you've been received. Sometimes you don't know exactly where to go, and you might go a little haywire. You might fail in a certain composition. You might just that's okay. But the thing is that when a process becomes repetitive, or a process becomes such that you're working on something for more than a month, month and a half, 2 months, and then you're getting tired of something, right? Music also tires you out. Sure. In some bits, when you, as a creator, when you keep on doing the same thing again, you're working on the same song, then there are changes, then there are again changes later, then there's another brief change, then it becomes a factory thing where you are kind of manufacturing something.
Yeah.
Music is a very organic process. Your first tune, your first reaction to something is a final reaction. You can't better that reaction.
Absolutely. Because I think it's a gut reaction.
It's a gut reaction.
Yeah. Absolutely.
But then what happens? That gut reaction is then judged. कि ठीक है, अच्छा है,
दिमाग आ जाता है,
चल सकता है, इसमें ये... Too many minds then kind of go into that process. Music which has flowed organically, whether it's with the lyrics and compositions together, or lyrics comes first or composition comes first, and then both are put together, eventually there is a bond which you can see as an artist, or a marriage you can see so strongly that you feel कि ये गाना बन गया,
हो गया
ये complete, इसको हाथ मत लगाओ.
Sure.
वो दुल्हन को विदाई देनी बहुत जरूरी है. वो दुल्हन को आप घर पे बैठ के रखोगे तो प्रॉब्लम है.
It's important to know when to stop, na, Shekhar?
You have to stop.
है ना?
You have to let it go in the universe. Let it go out. Let the world react to your creation.
And I think that's also another thing, no, that music as an art form also has traditionally had a responsibility also put on it. I mean, everyone from Bob Marley has made music mean something. As a musician, do you also feel the burden of that responsibility sometimes? Do you think that you need to?
No, I've never felt the need to kind of.
No.
It's just your expression has to be honest.
Right. Right.
Music is an expression. If your expression is honest, then itself it will translate and it will touch people's hearts.
अच्छा, आप ना रोजी पिक्चर दिखा रहे हो, लेकिन मुझे ये पता है कि बहुत सारा म्यूजिक ना एंगस्ट से भी आता है, एंड देयर हैव बीन अ फ्यू एंग्री सॉन्ग्स एज वेल.
अगर एंगस्ट जरूरी है गाने के अंदर तो डालनी पड़ती है एंगस्ट.
राइट.
अगर दैट ड्राइव इज इम्पोर्टेंट, ऑफ द सॉन्ग इज अबाउट a revolution, then there is an angst which has to be there in the song. If that doesn't translate, then your song is not kind of.
Is it always also? Have you had to push against walls to get the originality of your music going? Because we've all seen that in mainstream Hindi movies.
You know, when you're doing original music, when you're doing your own, when you're doing your own expression, don't wait for the result. Just paint your picture and let it out. जो चाहते हैं, जो फील करेंगे, जो एक्सेप्ट करेंगे, वो एक्सेप्ट करेंगे. The thing is, there is an audience for everything.
Sure.
There's an audience for everything. There's an audience who feels your connect very strongly. There's an audience who might not feel your connect very strongly. But I feel once you're doing independent work, don't look for that result.
But for commercial work, there's always a wave that comes into Bollywood. और सब बोलते हैं, अच्छा आप सिर्फ hip hop बजाओ, अच्छा आप सिर्फ सूफियाना चलेगा. You've never really adhered to that. I mean, if you were to look at your
but if it's working, then I would be foolish not to do that kind of stuff.
Okay.
Commercially.
Okay.
Commercially, if there's a certain genre,
right,
that this person is doing this, there's a full. There was one electronic genre which was like really big at that point, and we were electronic from the beginning. So we kind of we pushed it even more harder than after that, because it was kind of working. So why if songs in Punjabi language are working everywhere, is the audience who's consuming it. Like when people come and say that भैया हिंदी में गाने क्यों नहीं यार बन रहे हैं आजकल, सिर्फ पंजाब क्यों हो रहा है सब जगह पे, क्योंकि खूबसूरत है, अच्छा लग रहा है. See, the way I see it is, if an audience is consuming a certain genre of music, certain style of music, or a Punjabi song, for example, and there are back-to-back 10 Punjabi songs which are on the top 10 of the consumer's list. And then when the director comes and says कि ये गाना यार एकदम पंजाबी language में लिखते हैं, इसको ये करते हैं, why not? Like, do it. It's beautiful.
Okay. Sure.
There's a reason why people are consuming that thing.
Sure.
My instinct would be that कि 10 पंजाबी गाने चल रहे हैं ना, एक हिंदी गाना करते हैं, मजा आएगा. But अगर वो तरफ जाना है पंजाबी में, जाना है. There is no, because you're catering to someone. You're catering to someone's vision and someone's wants.
And you're also saying that there are ways to sort of.
There's a way to merge around. There's a way to kind of make it Hindi Punjabi. There's a way of kind of to do something unique. Maybe have a dhol guru playing and have an electronic like crazy synth bass line behind. Yeah,
and it's not
like the music of Tashan is an example of folk.
Chappan Tare Sun Lo.
Chappan Tare Sun Lo. It's a rock band and a full folk together.
With Sukhvinder. And finally, a lot of people get seduced by the glamour of what you do. There's always two sides to the coin. There's also the grime underneath. जो लोग नहीं दिखती है, जो 30-second reels बन रहे होते हैं, उसमें नहीं दिखती है. तो what would your advice be to those who are entering who want to make music, so to speak, as a profession? What would your advice be?
See, I'll be very honest, and I don't mind saying this, that कल कोई भी प्लेटफॉर्म बंद हो सकता है.
Right.
तब आप क्या करोगे?
That's a great question to ask. Absolutely.
कल मोबाइल मैन्युफैक्चरिंग बंद हो जाएगा तो आप क्या करोगे?
Right. Absolutely.
What if we go back to pages again? What if we go back to landline again?
Sure.
Anything can happen.
Absolutely.
The records, LPs are back.
Yes.
In a big way, globally.
Yes. Absolutely.
People are reversing into.
Yeah.
Globally, music of the 80s, Indian music as well as Western music, disco music is big.
100%.
Modern singers, Dua Lipa, Beyonce, all these guys are going towards retro beats.
Yes.
Retro compositions. Why? What's happening? Everything is like changing, turning, moving. The thing is, your personality has to come in the music you're doing. And in the music, people need to see you in that music.
That's important. That's important.
That'll travel. Making music for reels won't travel. You might just be popular for a bit, but then people are going to forget about it because someone else is going to make a reel. So make music for yourself, your expression. Let that travel.
Yeah. And I think if you can make a note last enough for it to ring out in your head after the song is over, that's success. And for being successful in making fans of millions and millions of people, and more importantly, making life a little more bearable with the beauty of your music. Sheykhar Ravjiani, we'd like to thank you very, very much for your time.
Thank you so
and for your thoughts.
Thank you so much.
That's Teamwork Art Podcast, ladies and gentlemen. Follow us on social media. It'll be really nice. Comment, share. Those always look like validation. Validation is what we live for. And also, more importantly, think. That's a really good first step to doing things. And think about what Sheykhar has said, because there's lots of wisdom there and learnings as well. And if you do learn something, do let us know. What's coming up next? Well, for that, you'll just have to follow our social media handles, won't you? This is the Teamwork Art Podcast, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for listening.
If you've enjoyed this podcast, subscribe to our channel now. We have a new episode out every Friday.